Welcome back to Madam Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. As you see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be chatting about probably the Eurovision Song Contest, which happened last Saturday, so 2 days ago. Now, I mentioned it a little bit in yesterday's episode, but it was a Happy Home Paradise episode, which wasn't really room to discuss much of the finer details, I suppose, of the Eurovision Song Contest and the actual songs and what I thought about them, that sort of thing. So I guess to lay some sort of groundwork, if you don't know what the Eurovision Song Contest is, unless Isabel might interrupt us right now, in which case I will have to do that after she says her, evening announcements, I suppose. Hello there, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 4:29 PM on Monday, May 16th, 2022. Kicks us here with a fresh pack of whatever. The Eurovision Song Contest is a contest which is held every year in some country in Europe, where basically all the countries in Europe, plus some other countries which aren't in Europe really, come together and basically perform. Like we send in, every country sends in one competitor, I suppose, to basically like have a song and a performance, and then it gets narrowed down to about like 20 something-ish, 25 this year. Also performances who all perform on one final stage, and then they all perform, and then they get ranked by the public, who vote in by texting or calling a number, I believe, and they get ranked separately by a jury, which is basically every single country who performed, not just who performed, who entered the competition, will have a jury put together to basically give ratings and points out to all the performances in the grand final. That's basically what Eurovision is. Basically, as it is a huge song contest. Now, it is one which is often, tied up with like politics and that sort of thing, which I'm not really going to go into detail analysis because I'm not really an expert in political relationships and things like that. But often current events can obviously influence certain things, like like who gets votes and who doesn't get votes. Especially a very common thing is countries which are in good relationship with each other will often vote for each other. Like, Greece and Cyprus often tend to give each other 12 points each because, they tend to be very, close friends with each other, etc., etc. And, England and France will, until, spoilers, I suppose, for Eurovision Song Contest and for 2 days ago, tend to never give each other points. But yeah, it's basically meant to be just like a good fun. Everyone's going to be here to have a good performance and good time, to sort of bring everyone in Europe together. It's basically, it's kind of like, I see some people compare it to the Super Bowl, the European Super Bowl equivalent. Kind of, I guess. I don't really know how big the Super Bowl is in America. I know it's very big, but I don't know quite how far-reaching it is. But it's a very big thing, basically. Now, its contest happened on Saturday, and spoilers, Ukraine won. And you might be like, hey, you're from the UK, aren't you? Are you upset that UK came second and Ukraine won? Hold on, is that a legitimate one? That's not a legitimate one. We might as well buy this other legitimate one in case one of our friends might need it or something at some point. Are you upset? No, I'm utterly thrilled. Is probably what I get out of the way is UK's performance. Sorry, UK normally do utterly terribly, and it's normally because we don't send the best acts in. I don't mean to disparage like our previous acts as if they like terrible performers or anything like that. They're not terrible performers. They're certainly far better than me. Let's be real with that. But it's not like I've never been particularly swayed, I suppose, by quite a few of our performances until this year, where I forget his name, but he sang Spaceman. Hold on. I've got the playlist up still of all the YouTube performances. Let's see. Spaceman. Where are you? Sam Ryder. That's it, of course. If you go on TikTok, you might know him from TikTok. Apparently, he's very popular on there. But I don't interact with TikTok, so I don't really know. He sang Spaceman, and first time I heard it, I was like, I actually quite like the song, which is, rare to say. But there were some other times I thought the songs were fine. Like, there was that sort of like electro swing song a while back. I can't remember who on earth sang it, which I thought was alright. I don't even remember what last year's one was, to be perfectly honest. But other performers were fine. It's just, I wasn't really swayed, I suppose. But this one, I was like, we actually have a pretty good shot, I think, to actually, do decently well. Obviously, everyone in Europe is of no doubt that Ukraine was definitely going to win this one this year. And I honestly don't have anything against it. Ukraine, far worse situation. It would be, quite tone deaf of me, I suppose, to complain about them winning Eurovision when, honestly, that song was pretty good still. Yeah, so yes, of course I'm completely happy for Ukraine, but of course I have a national bias as well, where I'm like, oh my word. Normally UK, if you don't know, we come like last or second last or something, with Germany most years. Sometimes, we'll have a bit of a breakthrough and we'll get like, we'll come like in the bottom 10th at least or something, and I'll be like, oh, you know, that's a fantastic year. This year we came second. Unbelievable. Any other year probably UK might have won, but I don't really care about that, to be perfectly honest. I'm just shocked at how well we did, and I'm just like, oh man, it felt so, you know, because every single time the votes come in, how the voting goes is we go to basically every single country, and the jury for that country, will say, hey, okay, these are how we distribute the points 1 to 10. Everyone basically distributes point values from 1 to 10, and then they announce who they gave 12 points to, which is like the sort of golden crown or the coveted trophy, I suppose, from each country. And seeing so many other countries give UK 12 points just made me go, what is this one that's meant to feel like, I suppose, to actually get hyped up for these moments? Because often in times we, you know, well, I do have favourite songs and stuff in Eurovision. Obviously, I do like to see UK do well. You know, I am from UK after all. I don't have any expectations. So every single time UK gets something like 1 or 2 points from a country, I'm just like, wow. Okay, I'm not nearly that excited about it. I'll be real with you. Internally, I'm more like, woo, I suppose. It was very thrilling to watch, even if I knew we weren't going to win in the end. But yeah, Spaceman, it was legitimately probably one of my favourite songs. I'm not going to say it's my favourite song, because we'll get on to what my favourite song was in a sec. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it was a fantastic time to watch. You know, I'm super happy. I'm proud of Sam Ryder, I suppose. He doesn't know who I am, obviously, but, you know, I'm just like, It was really fun to watch, I suppose. And it's certainly a lot more fun, you know, when your country does well. Yeah, because we haven't done this well for like 10 years or something. Like, we've never been in the top like half of all performances for 10 or 20 years, I think. And the last time we won, I think it was back in like 1970 for Katrina and the Waves, I think, which is ages ago. And you might be like, but haven't UK hosted Eurovision many times? It's often because sometimes if a country won, like, don't want to host it that year, it'll get given off to another country, and we've come second, like a random, surprisingly high amount of times, including this year, so we often are the next ones to host it, which may happen next year. I don't really know. If it happens next year, then certainly I want to watch it in person. But yeah, it was super exciting. I suppose we'll also talk about the winners, Ukraine. I can't remember what their song was called, but I thought it was fine. It wasn't my favourite. Oh, Stefania, that was it, wasn't it? It wasn't my favourite song of all the performances, but I would say it was in the top half, certainly for me. I watched it and I was like, I like it, you know. I like the chorus. The rap was hit or miss, I think, sometimes. Like, I do like rap. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm just like, oh, rap. I do like rap. But the first verse I thought was fine. The second verse I was like, I think the live performance of it didn't quite, you know, sell it, because afterwards I did listen to it, the actual recording on Spotify, and I actually quite liked it through recording. There are some songs which I liked a lot more through the recording than through the live performance. But you do have to remember also at the same time that Eurovision is, you know, partly the actual performance itself. It's not just a song, despite the fact it's a song contest. It's also, you know, for me personally, I invest, I suppose, into the actual stage performance, you know, the dancing, the theatrics, the theme, and even idea that they go for. But we did, like, you know, I had ranked all the songs, and I ranked them according to my personal taste, so I like gave them a score. But it's not like an asterisk I always want to give next to them, because there's a lot of silly songs in Eurovision, and I absolutely love silly songs, you know, the silliness, I suppose, of the way they don't take themselves too seriously. But it doesn't necessarily mean I actually like the song or how much. You know, I think a perfect example from this year is especially Serbia, which was a very popular with a public vote. Very silly song. It was about washing your hands. I loved it, like, thematically, and thought it was hilarious, but the actual song itself and the performance, I was like, it didn't really sway me, I suppose. So I actually gave it quite a low score for me personally, but it's not like a low score I give with an asterisk, where, like, I want to see more of this rather than other songs, because that's just kind of like the nature with stranger songs, is they tend to be much more divisive. Like, you either love them or you dislike them, I suppose. You know, that's a kind of their point, rather than being something which is trying to softly appeal to everyone. It hard appeals to one group, certain groups, and then other people are just like, not my sort of thing. Which is why, you know, surprisingly enough, Eurovision has a sort of like meta surrounding it. In the recent years, people have basically trying to do ballads, because there was like a stretch over a few years where basically these like soft, heartfelt ballads just kept like winning, I think, year after year, whatever, like, people try to capitalise on that. And nowadays people are just like, oh my god, I'm so sick of ballads. Please give me back that Eurovision weirdness, which I perfectly love. And honestly, yeah, I do love it as well. That to me is kind of what Eurovision is about, is like the grand theatrics. It's about being over the top and having crazy sort of performances in the first place, rather than necessarily these like soft, safe, you know, slow build up sort of songs, like ballads that you'd expect from a musical artist, which is fair enough. but it's like Eurovision is not just for song, it's for performance as well, and I want to basically be watching it and being like, this is fun. Even if I don't like the song necessarily, I'm just like, this is fun. So that happened but it was quite 3 notable, I think, SETI songs this year. Serbia's, which I talked about before, I said it was I gave it lowest. I think I gave it like a 4 or something out of 10, which is, you know, slightly below the average. I don't quite recall the scores I gave it off the top of my head. I wonder if actually it was put onto because I know in our friend group some people were watching it as well, and I know they had like a rating system or something. Oh, here we go. What did I give Serbia? Oh, I give it a 2. Okay, that's far lower than I thought. Okay, I probably didn't like it at the time for performance, but I listened to the song afterwards and I thought it was fine. I think those types of songs certainly have a type to grow on me eventually, but are not exactly the thing I love at the moment. Like for an example, was actually Ukraine's song from last year. I did not like it very much when I first listened to it, but then I listened to it more after the actual contest, and I was like, it's actually pretty good. It's actually a banger. You know, the one by Go Away, I think, called like Shuma or something. Da 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 da. So I'm surprised I gave Serbia 2, to be honest. That seems a bit low, but I suppose in the moment I didn't really like it. Moldova was the other SETI song, which apparently I gave a 3, which, you know, also seems quite low for me. But you have to bear in mind, I know I am very biased towards ballads and slow ballads, and even I'm like, especially this at the time, I was like, there's so many ballads. I love ballads far more than other silly songs, so I'm aware of my inherent bias, I think, towards a lot of these sort of things, which is why I tend to rate ballads higher, even though a lot of other people don't. I'm fully aware I am not representative of public opinion of these sort of things. So thankfully my scores are here. I suppose we can just sort of go through them. So we start off with Czech, what was Czech's one? Where are you now? That one, right? It's like turn off the lights or something. That was okay. Every single year I always give the first one a 5. And when I change it later, then I base everything from that song, being like, do I like it more than this song or like it less than that song, just so I have some sort of grounding point. I think last year it was El Diablo or something, which I actually ended up liking quite a lot, so it actually got bumped up quite a lot. This year was Czech one. I actually, you know, I gave it a 4 in the end. It was like not really my sort of thing. I haven't listened to all the songs, I will say, like the actual recorded versions afterwards, but I've listened to some of them again to sort of try and think about what I actually think about them. Next was Romania, which was like a hola, hola, mi baby. I will say that it's probably my least favourite song in this entire Eurovision Song Contest. If you like it, more power to you. As what I say, everyone's got different tastes and everyone's got different flavours of songs that they like the best. I didn't really love it. I thought the performance was quite fun, certainly, but, you know, the actual song itself, it didn't jive with me. Not didn't jive with me, it didn't grip me, I suppose. Portugal, what was Portugal's one? I don't know, I'm going to have to look at, excuse me, Discord, will you minimise? I'm going to have to look up a playlist. Let's see if I can see it at the same time. Okay, so from the top playlist, Portugal. Oh, Saudade. But this is one where I think was probably actually quite unpopular. At least in my friend group, I'm not really sure. Actually got like middling scores. It was nice, I would say. I think it was one of the nicer ballads because it felt very atmospheric. With, you know, it basically, like, it was like a choir group basically singing sort of together or like in a circle, and it felt, I don't know, it felt like it suited the atmosphere quite nicely. You know, it was one of the better ballads I think in this Eurovision. So I gave it a 6. But I don't think it was my favourite ballad. It was Jezebel. It was okay. I gave it a 4. Jezebel. It wasn't my favourite rock. I did like last year's Italian rock song a bit better than this one. But, you know, I always appreciate it when we do something different compared to, like, having, you know, pop is very popular, unsurprisingly, in these sort of contests. And I think this was the only rock song in the entire thing, which is surprising, because a lot of times rock doesn't do too well, except for last year actually did very incredibly well. Rock won last year, and there was another sort of like metal rock band where it's just like, put your middle fingers up, something, which I actually I like that one. That's probably my favourite rock slash metal song that's appeared in Eurovision, I'll be honest. Boys Do Cry, Switzerland. This one, I gave it a 6, surprisingly. I think higher than I should have given it. I think it should be a 4, to be honest. I skipped out Finland, didn't I? No, that was Finland. I think it just ended up being quite forgettable. Like, it was, I would say, inoffensive. He had a good voice. I think that's probably why I rated it so highly, is like he was the first one of the actual songs in the contest where I was like, oh, this person's actually got a really nice voice. sorry, his song's called, yeah, Boys Do Cry. I think it just ended up being kind of forgettable after you, and it might be one of the more forgettable songs, unfortunately. And apparently the Public Opinion also thought that, because it unfortunately got 0 points in Public Opinion, 0 points on public votes, which, you know, tragic to say the least. It was alright, you know. I do like it as a ballad, certainly, but I can't remember what even happened. Oh no, I do remember what happened in the performance. There's a lot of light shows, wasn't it? There was like projections on his face and that sort of thing. Which, you know, sometimes I do would like to see performance, the actual performance go harder. That's one thing I do respect Finland for, is the performance went pretty hard. There's a lot of yellow balloons everywhere. France was a weird one, which I think it might have been because the live performance didn't do it justice necessarily. It gives me similar sort of vibes to Ukrainians, the one last year. It felt very sort of like I don't really know how to describe it. I guess go listen to it yourself. It's called Fulen by Alvin and Ahes. I will say, even after, it's not really my sort of song. I'll be perfectly honest. It very clearly is not my sort of thing that I'd be into. But, you know, I really liked the performance. I thought it was, you know, quite an interesting visually one. I gave it a 2 though, so apparently I didn't like it that much. Certainly, I think a lot of my ratings are biased and, you know, rated heavily towards the songs itself rather than the actual performance, which, you know, whether that's fair enough, I suppose, up to you. Norway, this was my favourite silly song of a Eurovision Song Contest. It's called Give That Wolf a Banana, Subwoofer. It's clearly a song where I feel like when we wrote the lyrics, they were just like, who cares if it's random? I'm just writing it to make sure it rhymes. It's the most bizarre lyrics where it goes, before that wolf eats my grandma, give that wolf a banana, give that wolf a banana, give that wolf a banana. And then, like, it repeats that again, and then the post-chorus goes, yum, 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 something like that. I can't remember if it's that tune. It's very bizarre, but it's so, like, trippy. Like, they dressed up, like, kind of Daft Punk-esque. They have, like, these yellow wolf masks on, except for the ears are bananas, you know, to be like a wolf and a banana. And I assume they only said bananas because it's like kind of a half rhyme with grandma, I guess. And the actual lyrics in the verses are like nonsensical. Like one of the lyrics is like, if you don't like your name Tim, I'll call you Jeff, or something like that. I was just like, what? But their voice was actually very nice. Their voices were actually very nice. So I got to give them credit there, and it was very entertaining. Like I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is Eurovision. So I rated that one quite highly. It was my favourite of the silly songs, and probably the only one of the silly songs, but I was like, yeah, I would actually listen to this again. Then we have Armenia or Snap. Armenia's one, it was another softer ballad. It was, I would say, average. And, you know, I gave it a 5, so apparently, you know, that is very much average. I liked the actual performance of it. Like, I liked her, she had all these papers about the place where she was, like, tearing papers off a wall to reveal messages underneath. I thought that was cool. The actual song, I can't remember how it goes. It goes like, before I snap. Something like that. I can't remember the rest of it. Which, you know, I suppose perhaps is a bit of a reflection of how well it stuck in my head, which was not really that much. But yeah, I like the staging of it, I suppose, is what I'd say. But the actual song, meh. BVD, this is one where at the time when I watched it, I did not like the live performance. But it was one of the songs where I listened to it afterwards and I actually liked the recorded version much more than the actual live performance. I don't know, the microphones made them sound very strange when they went for the high notes, and because it's a song that when I BVD, a bit high for me even. And yeah, I didn't love the actual live performance of it, and I think it was also one where the performance itself wasn't particularly like engaging. I don't mean to like disparage it, because obviously it's not meant to be engaging. It's meant to be quite a heartfelt, moving song, like a strong connection between these two, obviously. But it was just a bit, you know. I kind of like to see more lively, big effects, I suppose, when it actually comes to a stage performance in Eurovision, which I said a few times, and, you know, other people may disagree, which is fair enough. Everyone's got their own different tastes. A pipe and print jacket. No, I wasn't fond of, but I'll gladly take it off your hands. So it was one where I liked the song later, but, you know, I ended up giving it a 3 because of a live performance. Spain! But this was one of the best performances. You know, she was just like, she had so much energy dancing throughout that entire thing. And the dance was actually crazy, is what I'd say. A little bit risque, you might say. You know, of course, they're certainly going for a certain aesthetic, and they pulled it off very well, is what I'd say. But it was just probably one of the most energetic, not the most energetic songs. I would probably go for Moldova, certainly. But I was just impressed at how well she danced through that entire thing and sang it all. So I give it an 8 I actually really liked it. I can't remember how the song goes, I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's also in Spanish, so I don't speak Spanish, so that's quite difficult for me to recreate for you here. But it's very fun. What's that to Spain? Netherlands. Netherlands, I actually think ended up being my favourite song. Favourite song. Not my favourite performance, but favourite song. It was very sort of like atmospheric, it was very sort of vibey. That's probably how I describe it. And at a lot of moments, the song just went like, hey, hey, ooh. Which, that sort of like atmospheric vibe, definitely up my alley. So perhaps there's no surprise there, but it ended up being my favourite song. I'd say the performance was a bit boring. I felt like there could have been more sort of things. Which I always say, whenever I go for a much more minimalist performance or like staging and that sort of thing, I'm always like, just put more stuff in. Is what I'd say. It's a bit boring having an empty stage because you're relying solely on the performer themselves, I suppose, to carry the entire stage presence, which compared to like the flashiness that other countries put on as a performances, it's a hard thing to justify, I think. Ukraine was next. What did I give Ukraine? I gave it a 5. I was like, it's nice. But I think the live performance of it definitely was not the best compared to the actual recording. Because I think the rap sounded a lot better than the recording. To me personally, Again, I'm not a rapper, so who am I to criticise? Who am I to judge? My opinions are mildly meaningless in the end of the day. It's just sort of like, very subjective. But I thought it was fine. That's what I'd say. Germany, I gave a 5. Germany was a Rockstars one. We could have been Rockstars, but not Nickelback. I don't really remember the rest of it. I guess it was kind of like a ballady thing. I think it came last, unfortunately. Germany, that's normally our position, I suppose. Like last year, UK itself got 0 points for both the jury and the public, which is depressingly sad, I suppose. But the actual performer was in good spirits about it anyway. So, credit to them for keeping high spirits throughout the entire thing. If anything, I suppose you'd rather get 0 points overall rather than like 3 points or something. 3 points sort of feels like a pity thing. 0 points sort of just like I can lean into this, I suppose. Lithuania was one where I didn't actually like the song all that much, but apparently I gave it a 4 still, so apparently I liked it okay, but I think its performance was a bit boring as well. That's probably how I describe it. But I respect it for what it is. It was a very sort of glitzy disco 70s sort of vibe. What I say, I just think the actual performance of it itself, as I always say, I wanted more stage effects and things like that. If I remember that the basis of it was there was a lot of like mirroring stuff. Oh wait, I thought we had a customization mission. Do we not? Oh, it's a crafting. There's a food mission. I don't think we'll be doing these missions, to be honest. But Azerbaijan was meh. It was another ballad. I thought the performance was actually kind of cool, but the song I don't really remember and was not all that invested in, so I can't really say much else about that. Belgium, miss you. Oh yes, this is the one. The guy with like the frosted tips, or well, not frosted tips, but like the white. I'm not sure how you call that a headset because it's not dreadlocks, but like I don't really know what it's called. I'll be perfectly honest. I actually really liked his voice, so I gave it quite a high rating. I gave it 7. And performance was fine. I don't really remember what happened during the performance, so who knows. Greece was Die Together. I gave it 6. I like the performance a bit more than Belgium's, but I like the song a bit less, I think. I don't really remember a lot of these. Iceland I thought was fine. I don't really remember how it goes, but I thought, it felt quaint. It felt like, a bit retro, I suppose, when I listened to it. That was not a bad thing. I was like, oh, I can't remember. One of my friends, it was like, it kind of made me feel like it was an ABBA song or something. Very sort of ABBA energy. And I was like, yeah, you got it completely right. That's exactly what it felt like to me as well. Moldova is the one which, I think was maybe the most popular, well, apart from Ukraine's, one of the most popular in the public vote, where it was basically just a huge, it was like a rock polka song, which, it didn't work for me, but I respected a heck out of them for doing such a, like, out there and wacky song, It's the sort of thing where it's like, I don't like this song, but I want to see more things like this, because if people do more like this weird stuff, eventually there's going to be a weird song which appeals to me, like Give That Wolf a Banana. Which this one did didn't quite hit that mark, but it's very popular. It's certainly the sort of song, along with Wolf and Give Out Wolf a Banana, is one I could certainly see in like in a club, you know, back in university days, going to a club and it starts playing and everyone goes, wow, when it comes on, you know. Sweden told me Closer. I thought it was fine. That's probably what I'd say. I'm surprised I gave it 6. I thought I would have given it a 5. I liked her voice. The song I was like, eh. I liked the chorus, but the rest of it didn't really sell me out. And the actual performance itself, I'm sure it was meant to be symbolic and stuff, but I was like, okay, it's fine. Australia, I gave it a 6 to, not the same. I don't really remember much of this, except for he wore a mask. I don't remember his song at all. I just kind of liked his outfit, which is probably why I gave it a 6. That was almost certainly why I gave it a 6. I don't remember anything else about his performance, except for he had like his chain mask on when he took off a mask. And it was like, whoa. Spaceman gave a 9. I just genuinely liked it, and especially it helped that it was like later on in the show, which by the way, you know, most Eurovision Song Contest winners are those who appear in the last half of the show. At least that's what that one Tom Scott video has told me. I watched it and I was like, genuinely, I do like the song quite a lot. And after watching all the other performances, I think it is genuinely my favourite song out of the entire lot. So, you know, I rated it a 9. Along with Norway's one. Poland's River one. I thought the song was boring, but I really liked his voice, is what I recall from it. Oh, I thought the performance was a bit boring as well. They had like these modern dancers, I think, sort of come on with like dressed in sort of tassels, which I thought was kind of cool, but I was like, The water effects, I think, on the stage are also kind of cool, but it's also like, I feel like it could be a bit more, you know? I guess because he was just wearing a suit. He was just basically wearing like a dinner jacket, like a tux or whatever, and I was like, you can, you know, why not wear something a bit more crazy? Serbia's, I kind of regret giving it a 2. I don't think it should have been a 2. But I just was not sold on the song. I'm perfectly honest. And even after listening to it, I'm not sold on the song. But the performance itself and the weirdness, I suppose. Well, I guess, you know, if I gave it a, you know, higher score just for weirdness, I guess the 2 points are kind of just for weirdness. It's a 2 with an asterisk, where I'm like, 2, I don't like the song, again. But I respect him for doing it, and I want to see more weirdness like this. And Estonians, I honestly cannot remember anything about it. He brought a guitar on and he started playing the guitar. That's basically what I recall. I know, I wonder if this whole Google Docs has everyone's scores in it or not. Oh, mine have been added. I don't know who added it in. I guess today. Someone thought maybe yesterday or something. I'm trying to see who. Oh, so these are the rankings. Okay, so the most popular song in our group was Spaceman. Spaceman. I think it's E flat 5 or something, that note, if I recall. Just one semitone below Let It Go's final note. What's the second highest song? That one. Spain. That was a good one. Third highest song was Norway. Give It Wolf a Banana. Look at the scores across the board. What's the least popular song? 25. Serbia. Oh man. Because we watched it in 2 groups. Like some of my friends watched it online, and when I watched it with some friends in person, like my word, Serbia's was harshly rated. What's the second worst? Azerbaijan. Interesting. It's interesting to see all the different scores. I'm sure we must have influenced each other, you know, listening to hear each other's reactions to the things, you know. As soon as you hear someone give a score like 4, that's sort of like, it's what's a principle, like the grounding principle or something? No, anchoring, I think that's what it's called. Now everyone anchors their score sort of around that 4, despite the fact that not necessarily that might not necessarily be what their actual opinion is on that value. I try to not fall into that bias, but I'm sure I inevitably did at some points. Okay, so what was a third least popular? Romania's, which is in retrospect probably my least favourite of all of them. It was joint 21st, which was Portugal's, and so Saudade and Snaps. Oh, I don't think Armenia should be that low, to be honest, but I suppose technically it was my own influence on it for not rating it higher. Intriguing. Intriguing. See with different scores. At least, like, I gave a wide variety of scores, from 2 to 9. You know, I saved 1 and 10. 1 for being like, I absolutely hated that song, and 10 for being, I absolutely love that song. Which I weren't any. I'm not even sure. I don't know, maybe Spaceman could have been a 10. It would have been close. That's probably what I'd say. But anyway, I'm going to round off this episode here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Any likes, comments, subscription, shares, I greatly appreciate it. Join me, Dear Darling, Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, goodbye for now. Actually, what do we give Netherlands ranking? 9. That's not bad.